Good evening. Welcome to Inside News. My name is Mike Jones. We had the best of intentions of giving you a live stream from the weekly business session tonight. For technical reasons, that didn't work out. But I am going to stream it live to you now and save you the hassle of having to wait through up until the comments section. And so here is the weekly business session.
Dale Matthews, Grants Pass. The thing that makes Al-Qaeda fighters so hard to defeat is they don't care if they die. They just strap dynamite onto themselves and take out everybody. When you're in a situation with someone that has nothing to lose, that's the most dangerous situation that can be faced there or here. The citizens, the majority of citizens, have made it very clear what they want and what they don't want from taxes, from their county commissioners, and they've shared that with you. Now we're in a situation where, as Cheryl Walker said in one of her little backroom meetings, she can call the governor down here on her own. She doesn't even need the other two commissioners to do that. And today, she dropped out of the race for commissioner. There's nothing left to lose, and she could simply pull the trigger, as Simon Harris said. Now, last week, I was asked by several commissioner candidates out on the front steps here to put up a letter, the kind of letter that needs to be written by Keith Heck to the governor, the kind of letter that needs to be written by Simon Hare to the governor, because you can't just sit by and watch this happen. And the letter says, "We are the Josephine County candidates who will soon replace current officials Cheryl Walker and Keith Heck in commissioner positions 2 and 3. It's a good idea for your constituent response team to keep this in mind before sending us the pro forma answer. From this list will come 2 new office holders. And while we don't agree on everything, there's one thing that we'd like to do to send you a very clear message to the governor. None of us, signed below, wants you to come in here with public safety fiscal emergency in Josephine County, and is signed by almost all of the candidates who are running for office. The ones that haven't signed, we're going to tell everybody that they decided not to sign, that they refuse to sign, that they just don't want to sign. You'll see today a number of people that have been invited here by SOS and by supporters of Cheryl Walker to try to show us that there's this groundswell of public opinion that's totally in favor of the governor taking over. It's a concerted effort to get people in here to do that. And I'm looking forward to seeing these people and capturing them on tape and hearing their names so we can make sure that everybody knows who they are as well.
Good evening. Mike Jones, Grants Pass.
I said Smith. I apologize, Mr. Jones. I'm sorry. When I called you up, I said Mr. Smith. I apologize.
Oh, no
Sorry,
worries.
Mr. Jones.
No worries. Worse.
Sorry, big difference there.
Okay.
My apology.
Okay, last year at this time, we were in the midst of a robust and true grassroots campaign against yet another property tax levy. Aided by the facts, we fought our opponents a pseudo-grassroots campaign that used feelings, perceptions, and anecdotes. They were roundly defeated. Right after the election season that last year, it was time to finalize the budget. There were several opportunities to funnel a little extra money to aid in abating the dire law enforcement emergency that existed in the county. Road dollars and shared timber receipts? No, the emergency is not that bad. We can't afford to fund the county's public safety lifeline. Not long ago, Keith Heck was asked, why don't you send economic development money to the sheriff's department if such an emergency exists? He stated that it could not be done because that money was targeted for a specific purpose and that it would be illegal to do so. On December 10th of last year, in a video entitled "To Counter Negative Publicity of Ethics Violations, BCC Will Pay to Insert Positive Stories in Media," at 15 minutes and 55 seconds, Cheryl Walker states the following: "I think that's what's been happening, is that the counties have been using it in a way they think is most important for their economic welfare." Simon Harris states at this time. That's exactly right. Cheryl continues. And that's why there is a certain amount of discretion in it, and that's why the state hasn't really worried about it. Every county has different needs for their economic development. Recently, the commissioners and County Finance Director Arthur O'Hare discussed the $20,000 per year in economic development money that they give to a number of county government departments, excluding the Sheriff's Department. And that they give a number of county persons. Okay. Because of inflation, it should be adjusted to $25,000 a year. They have the option for, and routinely do apply for, and are granted greater sums to fund projects in that department. There will be no money given to the Sheriff's Department that isn't newly extracted from the pockets of citizens. In short, no real emergency exists, only a lame duck commissioner with a desire to show her contempt for the people by exercising unjust power without the consent of the government.
Stuart Senate, Grants Pass. I don't claim to understand all the issues that a lot of other people talk about because I haven't been living here too long. I've been a resident here 6 months. But the one thing that I have observed is that the people's will is pretty clear in this area. People don't want to pay more money. They don't want higher taxes. They're waiting for government to represent them properly. And I don't have to understand the issues, but I understand how government should function. Why, when we elect you to sit on our behalf and run the county's business, we expect a certain amount of talent from you people. And if you are willing to give up our authority and let the state run the county, then you're obviously lacking in ability and talent to do the things we need you to do. Who has the political will to make the hard decisions, the hard choices? There are a lot of sacred cows in this community. I don't think that I don't think the answer is ever to tax people to get what you deem to be the proper way to govern. We need people with talent, innovation, vision for the county. And I don't claim to be the know-it-all. I have to say I'm still learning the issues. But apparently one of the major things I see is that nobody's standing for the people to try to get our lands back so that we can harvest timber. Because that was obviously a big economic factor in the security of this county for many years. Where is the political will to do the things we need to do to get this happening again? And the other part of it is, I just don't believe taxing is an answer to anything. So what I'm looking for in a new commissioner is talent, ability, vision, and if I can see that, I'll vote for it. But what I see here so far is Zero. That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Crowley? Yes, sir. Mr. Smith? And that is Mr. Smith. Yeah. Oh, I looked at Mr. Smith and this is the new one.
Ray Smith, Bay Junction. I don't believe there's a fiscal emergency. I don't necessarily believe there's one that's imminent. But I would like to say a couple things about House Bill 3453 or the Law 753 and what it represents. When the O&C contract with the federal government was breached, when they decided not to make payments to the counties that they had contracts with, the counties didn't go after the federal government to give money that was owed to them. We have one thing in this county to control our government with and to control their spending, and that's our consent to be taxed. When that doesn't happen, the state decided to come in, not to help. They have the House, the Senate, the governor, the Attorney General. They didn't come and say, we're going to help you. Go to the big bully, the federal government, and ask for these funds or demand these funds that they have a contract with. They've taken the right of way to log. That's the lifeblood of this county. It was the timber. So now they refuse to make payment on the contracts that they had with us. The state, instead of saying we're going to do this for you, they pass a law that says if you give us code 753, we'll come in there, and even though you've time and time again tried to beat the money out of the citizens that say we can't afford it, we don't want it, we don't want to pay more, we will come in and hold them down while we beat the money out of them. That's what that says. It's tyranny. To take your consent away, that's all we have left to control our government and their spending. We have a charter. The charter says we get to tell you how much you make. That's in the state constitution. That's been taken away. We also have, besides the charter, we have unions. We can't control the unions or what the employees make. The only thing we have is our consent. That's the way this country's set up. I would hope you would oppose this soon and loudly. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Robert Moore. I live here in Grants Pass. I grew up here, actually. My wife and I opened Oregon Books and Games 25 years ago, and are really proud to have contributed to the community over the years. And what makes Grants Pass and Josephine County so unique is oftentimes it's small businesses and the people that come to them every day. A few years ago, unbeknownst and probably ill-advised, we welcomed Walmart into our community. And the city actually gave them money to help establish their business here in town in the form of a grant. At the end of a year, we had lost 32 small businesses. That's quite a chunk out of the downtown area. That's where the majority of them came from. We've got another 1,000-pound gorilla right there on the horizon right now. And that gorilla is called Amazon. And what it's doing is actually taking away storefronts and jobs. And an organization I belong to, which is national, the American Booksellers Association, contracted to have some studies done because we were the main target to begin with by Wilson and Amazon. Their idea was not really to sell books, they want to sell everything. And in doing so, what they've done is taken away millions and millions of square feet of frontages and businesses and put them into a warehouse environment. And their great appeal is to sell at a lower cost. But is it really a lower cost? And what I'd like the commissioners to do is to take a look at those. And I do have the facts, and I would like to come back and make a presentation. For the county to take a position of just buying locally and supporting the local businesses, because they are in danger in this country. We've seen a reversal, actually, of online sales, but still not where it was. Me personally, we lost 30% of our business over the last 5 years. What that means to you is we vacated 3,200 square feet in Grants Pass. They're still vacant. We laid off 4.5 people. That's just under $100,000 in salaries in Josephine County. And I have to ask you, does the county have a buy local policy, or do they shop online too? So I'd like the opportunity to come back and talk to you folks. I've got a letter and also some other things if you'd like to have them at this time.
Mr. West.
I'm Larry Weiss, Grants Pass. I'm not going to solve world problems tonight, federal problems, or even give you your weekly meeting. But what I'd like to do is look at this Board of Commissioners' goals that got off the internet. And I'm a happy guy tonight, because this is one of the best things I've seen in a long, long time. I'd like to go right straight to economic development, number 3, and make a suggestion that you combine B and C, which is hire a new community development planner director. Combine that with C, establish an economic development task force. I have a suggestion there that you combine B and C to save money by splitting the salary with the city. They've already got an economic development person. And I think we could save some money if we combine the city employee and the county and look at it that way rather than hire a new person. So just a suggestion, something to look at, because down here in C, they look about it in conjunction with the city anyway. So to me, it makes perfect sense to do that and talk with the city and see if that can happen. And by doing that, I think you enhance the impact of the economic development outline and goals that you have established. I also would like to see another area, and that once you do this, create a volunteer economic development committee with quarterly reports back to the BCC and the public forum. Because in the past we've had, 2012, we had $56,000 just already we paid for an economic development plan. I'm sure it's still gathering dust someplace, nobody read it. And then of course we have this new strategic plan that the city and the county have paid for. And what we really need to do is start implementing this stuff. So if we had a volunteer committee, no cost, combined this one person, I think we could really support the community and economic development, which has to be our #1 priority. So much better than we've been doing before. So much for that point. I'd like to go down to number 7, transparency. Part A on the agenda. Prepare more understandable budget documents. And I think that's a good thing too. It's great that you have a goal to do that. Because with the way the budget committees have been formed over the last 6 years, and I've been part of that budget committee myself, we are lacking training. And I think the last one that was given was probably when Simon Hare and I were in the training, worked way in together. And the reason that's important is because I'm starting to see confusion in some of the budget committee members that really don't know the difference between depreciation and reserves. Depreciation in the private sector is something allowed since 1953. Reserves is something not allowed in public accounting. And so you just really naturally can't go, for example, to road funds and start spending it willy-nilly. That's a state function as well as what we'd like to do. I have more to say, but I'll do it on another day. My time's up. Thank you.
I think Mr. West has to leave, and I think he told me I can leave, and I'll answer one of your questions in regards to the item 3, B, and C. The Community Development Planning Director, as currently, we have a planning director that has retired, and so what we did is we add the additional duties and responsibility of community development to the planning director position. And then when it comes to the item C, that is something that we wish to establish after we have someone in that position to implement the plan that we're working with the city. Yeah. Okay. Next row behind. Yes, ma'am.
Catherine Austin, Cave Junction. I want to discuss the proposed state of emergency. I've been paying attention to your meetings that have, over the last several months. I have not heard anything in your discussions that there is an imminent state of emergency fiscally. I would think it would be a #1 topic in all of your meetings, in department meetings. I have not heard that. Neither with the city or the county. In fact, recently you made a list of priorities for the future, and it wasn't on the list, or it was low on the list. That just doesn't reflect to me what qualifies an emergency. Money that has been available has not been passed through to the sheriff. Been mentioning the road funds, timber revenues, the water testing that was not needed. $135,000 a year for 5 years. That could have been dedicated to the sheriff, but it wasn't. That, to me, would be what a financially responsible business would do if they really were having a financial emergency. Cave Junction is not the whole county. It is a 2-mile square area. It is a hot spot of attention now. It is a very small area of the whole county. 86% of the crimes in the statistics that are most recent are in the city of Grants Pass. 86% of the crime in the whole county is in the city, where the Grants Pass police responds as well. The sheriff could focus on Cave Junction. He could send deputy. We have a contract deputy out there during the day. The crime happens at night. He could be out there at night when the crime is happening. But to this point in time, I don't know if that's being done. OSP statistics do not support that we need. We're very low usage in the state, by about 3 or 4 to the bottom on the list of using Oregon State Police. If House Bill 3453, Chapter 753 is used and the governor does intervene, this will not be free money. It'll set us up for House Resolution 21, which will statewide, for all the counties that are under $2 a minimum, to raise taxes to $2 per minimum statewide. It'll bring the rest of the state to put us in check for using state money. If property taxes are increased, they will likely be 4 times what they are for residents right now. We live in a very limited low-income county nationally. That will put some people out of their homes. I don't notice that being part of this discussion. Public distrust for mismanagement of funds is a big reason why people don't vote for the levy. I think the recent slew of ethic violations that have been cited by the state would back that. And the sheriff and other people that may need money are not getting it, but most of this is about PERS. That's something that's not being discussed. I appreciate your consideration to not go to the governor. Thank you.
The back row there. Yes.
Hi, my name is Andrew Miller from Cleveland, and I wasn't invited here, and I'm part of the 48%. My wife and I moved here over 6 years ago. Grants Pass in Josephine County was not only beautiful, but It was clean, no graffiti, and seemingly low crime. Understanding that the following is my perception. Since the cuts into public safety because of the federal funding going away, catch and release, emptying of our jails, the reduced sentencing because of plea bargaining, because of lack of staff, and the lack of sheriff presence out in the county has led to a change in the quality of life. All caused by the reduction in force because of a lack of adequate public funding. I went 5+ years not knowing anyone who was a victim of crime. Now I know 2 people who have been victims of home burglary, one of them a family member. And people I do not know, a restaurant where we frequent now, the scene of a vehicle window being shot out while the park patron was inside eating. The retired couple in Colonial Valley, murdered, including the Road Warriors incident event that happened on Maryland Road, which followed, that included assault, battery, and property damage. And myself having to confront a trespasser who my guess was casing my house, which is fenced with a locked gate, posted no trespassing, 5 acres not visible from the street, for the first time in 6 years. And now recently, armed robbery seems to be in vogue on 6th and 7th Street. We cannot continue to allow this to grow. When free funding goes away from the federal government, rightfully or wrongfully, we the people must step up and ensure that public funding for public safety is there. I realize that the people are closely divided on this and have been unable to agree on a solution, as seen in the two recent levies, 5248, 5446. And since the citizens cannot seem to come together, using the state government to assist them to be a good compromise should reduce the cost to the citizens of our county. Therefore, I urge the commissioners to declare an emergency and go to the governor. And I thank you for your service.
Madam Chair, before we go on, so everybody needs to understand that I think there needs to be an equal amount of respect provided by each person who's addressing the board. Your comments are directed to the board, not to the public. And if people are speaking in opposition to your personal belief, you can appreciate that in the silence of your chair. It's not respectful of the person who's speaking to talk under your breath or what have you. We're adults here. Let's try to just keep it as the decorum is currently doing. Let's not digress from this. This is positive.
Okay, back row, Mr. Hunter.
Good evening, Commissioners. Bill Hunter, Illinois. You received a letter on February 24th from Jay Meredith, who is the Finance Director of Grants Pass, and the President of SOS, who said, "Our crime emergency is so severe that," quote, "the DA can't prosecute all the serious cases." 2 days earlier, I attended a forum where our District Attorney, Ryan Mulkins, spoke to the North Valley community and Community Watch and said that he was proud to say that for the first time in 9 years, he had a full staff and full funding for the DA's office. And he said, "We can handle everything that comes in." As a citizen, who am I to believe? At the Republican Forum at the Black Bear on February 23, an audience member asked Keith Heck why the commissioners didn't use economic development funds for the Sheriff's Department. He replied, "By law, we can't use economic money for anything other than economic development. That's the law." However, Arthur O'Hare recently told the commissioners in the little back room that again this year they are giving $20,000 each to 4 county departments: airport, fairgrounds, parks, and planning. We also know that economic development funds pay for half of a code enforcement officer. If we are having a crime emergency that we must take to the governor, do we need code enforcement more than we need crime enforcement? As a citizen, I have to figure out what is the truth. Are economic development funds able to be used to beef up county departments And if so, why are we not using them to beef up the sheriff's department? In this Sunday's Courier, Sheriff Daniel said regarding the homicides that he didn't have hard statistics. And when asked about the impact of having fewer deputies, he answered, "There can be little doubt that the numbers were skewed." Asked whether fewer crimes are being reported, he said fewer were reporting crime he felt. He also said that reporting formulas recently changed, and you can't really compare 2012, 13, and 14 because of the different systems. But actually, the state OUCR computer system changed 3 years ago, and the categories of personal property and behavioral crimes are all comparable year to year. Are these the anecdotal, befuddling statements that you're planning to present to our governor to support your crime emergency request? I'm afraid this is just another bridge to nowhere, but this time you've added 6 additional feet. Sadly, this is one more opportunity for you to damage Josephine County's deteriorating reputation, and it will. Thank you.
Anyone else on back here on this side? You came in afterwards, you're next. Go right ahead.
Good evening.
I believe she's ready.
Oh, that's okay, that's okay.
Oh, go ahead.
You're just getting up there.
I thought you pointed at me, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
you can be next.
I'm sorry.
Later that evening.
Apologize for coming in late. My name is Alan Ayer. That's Alan Ayer, EHR, in case somebody wants to know. I'm a little concerned. When I come in, I heard somebody talking about, well, this water sampling. I came to the county commissioners in earnest because several things. There was a story written in the sneak preview this week, beginning of the week, over the weekend, came out. Defamation of character is not even touching the page of this. Now, you people have known me for years. Many people in this community have been working on this for over 20 years. My credentials as a backup to first responders, as a hazmat technician, an inspector, risk assessor, and project design. My credentials all speak for themselves because of EPA level, DEQ level, and the state of Oregon Health Division level. Now, I was doing the problem out here at the Fielder Dam, and I brought it to the attention of the county. Of course, I moved kind of swiftly considering they were supposed to follow protocol to remove the dams and didn't. The whole problem that I had, and they say, well, all the departments in the state were brought on board and they knew. One bad part is one of the very people that knew other issues, Nielsen Laboratories, that does the testing for the city and all over the state, in the windrow of well over $35 million that they make a year, volunteered just recently to do the testing free. Conflict of interest guys, they're also the ones that tested behind the dam and the sediments. And after they got done cleaning up, I went in and scraped some of those sediments, and I sent them out to accredited labs, 4 outside the state of Oregon, all accredited, federally accredited laboratories. What my concern is, for somebody to say in the county that we're not responsible, and I understand the money pinch. I'll tell you right now, if I had millions of dollars, I'd be the first one to give you $6 million just to get it right. And I don't have that kind of money. I'm on Social Security. And it's not being boastful to say that. What my point is, when somebody says that it wasn't worthwhile to test, not only did I prove the sediments, for number 1, red arsenic, mercury, the actually PCB oil, and uranium. Now, people think, well, what's the deal with uranium? Radon in your house, and we're strong, rich in radon. The highest level uranium mining group in the United States is in Lakeview, Oregon, just across from where this incident happened where somebody was shot. The ironic part of that was I said what I did. I've done it on research for a lot of years. My research goes back over 200 years in documentation through the Department of Delgamy and all the rest of it. You folks all know when I bring, and if you don't, I've showed my credentials at least 3 dozen times. They're EPA level, all of them, and I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. My biggest concern is to say that it wasn't worthwhile to test when the arsenic was there, the sample that was taken that helped you guys make a decision about thinking this wasn't a good idea. Just the bottom line, last sentence. Michigan, Flint, Michigan, with the lead poisoning. I'm one of the highest credentialed people in the state of Oregon for lead. I am an assessor, risk assessor, project design, and inspector. Most importantly, the slew of stuff we have behind the dam. When they said in the paper, well, we uncovered a ton of, we saved the county a ton of money. The bottom line is, the sediment behind the dam was 16,000 tons, and a lot of it's still there. It's actually eroded 92 feet from the very home where the dam sat for over 100 years. Bottom line, it is a problem. They should have never stopped trying to sample, because that little bit they thought is 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and it was proven solid.
Thank you, Mr.
It's documented, and my credentials are EPA level. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and sorry that I went over. But the people need to know that you guys were headed in the right direction.
The gentleman, you may come forward now. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Sorry about jumping the gun earlier.
I'm sorry, sir.
Please state your name.
My name's Tony Min, Wolf Creek, Oregon. I want to talk to you about this joke that everybody's concerned about public safety. Now, everybody says, oh, crime's gone up 1,000%, 800%. But now we find out nobody's actually got the numbers. Well, I say that we get the numbers and figure out what's going on before we send such a letter to the governor. Now, if it's true that we're in an emergency like the commissioners have stated, and groups like SOS stated, which I really don't care about the county, they just care about themselves, then we should send a letter. But if it comes proven that we're not in such bad shape, then don't send a letter. But either way, they should ask the people before they do anything. And another thing I want to address is came to my attention that the commissioner thinks that we're apathetic about crime in the county. We're not. Just because somebody was too lazy to turn off the alarm at our library. Cheryl Walker said she's concerned about Wolf Creek. Well, don't worry about Wolf Creek. We got our crap together. Every neighbor watches each other's backs. I mean, we're not afraid to go and help a neighbor if they're being attacked or robbed. Sometimes we might call the sheriff. But we don't assume that they're going to be there right away. The earliest will be 20 minutes, so we take care of each other. And that's what we need to do in this county, is take care of each other. Thank you.
Sir, can you maybe restate your name, your last name? I caught your first
Get
name,
the spelling of your name for the
Tony, but I didn't catch your last name.
Minton?
Minchine.
It's M-I-N-T-O-N.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to start here in the front and then move to the back. So anyone in the front row? Rika Brim.
Rika Brown, 1415 Southwest Bridge Street, Grants Pass. Some emergencies take a long time to build. When I lived here in the 80s, this was a nice, neat, clean little town. And with very little crime. I didn't have to worry about stuff being ripped off out of my car when I left it unlocked all the time. I came back in 1999 after leaving an Arizona prison. And found the town a lot bigger, a little dirtier. In 2005, I was arrested. Ended up going to jail in 2007. And that was about when we were cut down to about $12 million a year. Still doing $12 million a year. for our sheriff's department. But we had been under a jail emergency, I found, for decades. That people were released routinely that otherwise in other places would be held. And I was able to beat probation, 18 months probation and 6 months by non-cooperation, because I read the law and found that the judge had to look at the available jail space or prison space when thinking about revoking probation and reserve it for the more dangerous offenders. And since I was only in there for marijuana, I was not dangerous, and they could not hold me, and they could not take me to jail for violating my probation. And so it was dismissed. And other people's probation was dismissed. At the time, I noticed that drunken drivers were being cited and released, that shoplifters were being cited and released. And that was when we were supposedly fully funded. Except our previous sheriff had feuded with the commissioners because he wasn't getting enough money. And what I see now is the crimes in the blotter get weirder and weirder. Statistics are only as good as what goes into the statistics. The gentleman was saying that people up in Wolf Creek, they take care of each other. They sometimes call the sheriff. Other times they don't. That never makes it into the statistics. Thank you.
Anyone else in front row, second row? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Jennifer Roberts, and I live in Grants Pass. First, I'd like to thank the commissioners for your attention to what I do believe is a fiscal emergency, public safety fiscal emergency. And I urge you to ignore those critics who have the luxury of criticizing any decision you make without suggesting alternatives or being responsible for any outcomes the way that you are. While you deliberate about solutions for our public safety emergency, I ask you to keep two people in mind. The first is June Rice, who in August of 2012 wandered away from her foster care home in Murphy. No sheriff's duties were on patrol because of budget cuts, and the ensuing confusion between 911 and the Oregon State Police meant that there was a 5-hour delay in her search. She was eventually found just 1 mile from her home with her electric scooter stuck in gravel. She had died of dehydration and stroke because we did not have enough money to fully fund the sheriff's office. The second person I urge you to keep in mind is the unnamed woman who called 911 when her ex-boyfriend was trying to enter her home. She was sure that her ex-boyfriend was going to kill her. The 911 operator told her that because of budget cuts, because we don't have a funded sheriff's office, there was nobody to send to help her. That woman was sexually assaulted and choked. I beg of you in these deliberations to remember our most vulnerable citizens, children and seniors, victims of domestic violence, the sick and the friendless, the hurting and the helpless. And I thank you for your time.
Yes.
Diane Mackin, Grants Pass. I have a cold, so we'll see if I get through this without coughing. I often hear this from people who attend these meetings, and I heard it tonight. People accuse you of not representing the people or the will of the people. But you are. You have to represent everybody. Somebody else also stated the 48%. That's true. You're representing those of us, maybe in that 48%, almost half the people that do want to vote and pay for property taxes. We want the option to vote for those property taxes. We do want to pay more for a fully functioning criminal justice system. And the key part is system. It goes beyond patrols. It goes beyond jail space. It includes the DA, and it also includes the juvenile justice system that's been closed for years. I teach at the high school. I see the difference of what's happening with kids. My comment to you is we often hear about people don't trust you. They don't trust you with the money from the budget. I would say to you, challenge those people. Encourage them to read the budget and give them a copy of the budget. Say, here, you find the $8 million. It costs approximately $12 million to fund the criminal justice system. If you guys can only put $4 or $5 million into it, there's a $7 to $8 million deficit. Challenge these people who think they know better to find the money, to find where you can make up that difference. You know, as Dale so lowly put it, you've got nothing to lose, Cheryl. Maybe that's something you could put to the public. Here you go, find it. I am fed up with some of the people in the community. I've lived here since 1979, and yeah, I've seen things go downhill. And all it takes is people to look on Facebook to see a car is stolen almost every day in this county. It's got to stop. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm David Smith, the other Smith in the room, not to be confused with Jones. I'm from Colonial Valley, right over the ridge from the couple that were murdered last year. You heard the same vocal minority that speaks up at most of these meetings try to tell you that there's no crisis. That they believe they speak for the people, and when they speak for the people, they basically define the people as themselves. They would have you believe that the people have spoken out in a solid majority in favor of a system where there's no public safety, no funding for public safety, that we can all take care of ourselves. And what they neglect to tell you or remind you of, as you know perfectly well, is that the margins have been perilously close. In one case, just a couple hundred votes out of a population of 83,000 people. That's delegitimizing the rest of us. Our votes count. Now, as the county commission, as elected officials in this county, you have a responsibility to govern, even when the people refuse to be governed, even when there's a vocal segment of the population that has essentially taken the rest of us hostage. They not only will not be governed, they won't allow others to govern. In times like this, it's not just your responsibility, but your duty to do what needs to be done, to make the hard choices. I applaud you for your courage in bringing up this topic. I don't know what the right answer is. I'm just someone who lives here. But I have talked to dozens of people around this county, making short films about what's been happening, listening to the victims, listening to the law enforcement officers, public officials, school administrators, teachers, parents, dozens of people. I do not hear people saying that everyone here can take care of themselves. I hear people who have been at the wrong end of crime, who started out thinking, everything's fine. A lot of them didn't think there was a big deal until it happened to them. In a lot of cases, there are women who are staying with their abusers because they have no safe option. There are children who have nowhere to go except the homes where they're being sexually and physically abused because there's no shelter. There are school administrators who don't know how to keep their children safe during the school day because there's no one to call if something goes wrong. Things are not good. We have a murder rate in 2015 that was 2.7 times higher than that of Portland when you look at it on a per capita basis. Try to tell me that things are normal. It's time for us to do something about this. I don't know how bad it has to get before this vocal minority that claims to represent the rest of us really believes that there's a problem. We'll really listen. We'll really look. And stop misrepresenting the data. Stop claiming that the lack of statistics says that things are good. The funny thing is, if you call the law enforcement officers, crime looks like it goes down, right? If a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to see it, does it fall? Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Next row. Marie? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see. Did you have your hand up? Okay, yes. And then Marie. Sorry, I didn't see you first there, Kim.
I'm kind of short. Got a call tonight too. Jean Mound, Grants Pass, Oregon. I wanted to make some comments related to public safety services, and I thank the previous speaker. I think you covered the issue very well, outlining the fact that we definitely have a problem. We need to focus, which we have not been, on resolving it. And the commissioners are the leaders to do that. It is a difficult position, And it is, we're divided here. Oregon House Bill 3453 provides that the governor may proclaim a public safety fiscal emergency when the fiscal conditions compromise the county's ability to provide a minimally adequate level of public services. So really, we need to be getting the data together to show that our services are not what they should be. What are the mandated services? What are the required essential services? I don't have all of that data, but we have the professionals who can give us that data. I went online. Grants Pass has an annual report that is given. We have statistical data. And we have all the professional people from the sheriff, the juvenile department, the criminal justice system, and others fiscally to get this data together as best we can, along with the statistics, which I don't think are totally accurate. When I have had to file something, a car that was at the end of the lane, the hood was taken off, had been there a few days. You don't call anybody, I mean, you try. You get a form, you go online. I hope you haven't had to do this, but many people have. I have neighbors who have been burglarized. It really puts this a whole bit of a property relegated to, well, that's just burglary, it's not really important. It is important. It's very important to all of us, and almost a fear that I can't leave my house. I lived here over 30 years. I've seen a big change. I'm aware of the budget. People need to get informed. The funds aren't there. We need to come up with a solution. And we have never raised property taxes for the general fund in this county since I've lived here. Now that speaks to the fact that we have a lot more people. I mean, just basically, we've got a problem we need to resolve. So what are some of the areas that we know we have problems? Well, I can account for the fact that there's a delay in response and the emergency calls. Of course, we don't have 24-hour patrol, so it's OSP. And I'll just add, and I'll give a copy of this paper to you, that I was on the grand jury just a few years ago, and it was alarming to hear there was an actual possible shooting out in Cave Junction. Someone's calling the OSP person, and police have to come from Central Point. And a family member tries to hold down somebody, and this is just unacceptable. It's frightening.
Thank you. You'll give that to our secretary, please. You want to Marie Arthur, and we'll go next.
My name is Marie Arthur. I'm on Kinney Street in Grants Pass. Looking forward to our exciting budget season. My request tonight of the commissioners is on behalf of citizens who actually wish to understand the facts of Josephine County finance and budgeting. During my final decade at AAA Michigan, I coordinated preparation and monitoring of our $46 million Information Technology Department budget. Both insurance industry and technology accounting have extremely specific requirements and constraints, which are hard for a personal budgeter to understand without an interpreter. Since my first career was an English professor, I was asked to provide plain English interpretations. Government budgeting and finance have different practices and constraints, which I am confident our staff will be able to explain. Lazy critics repeatedly insinuate that commissioners are not transparent about county finances. However, budget hearings are all public, and the budget is published in the daily newspaper and online. It's my perception that the main obstacle for citizens is that the standard presentation format of the budget does not clearly identify and separate discretionary and non-discretionary items. If former commissioners still do not understand the difference, the rest of us can expect some confusion also. Therefore, I have 3 requests for the commissioners. 1, during budgeting, publish a simple explanation of the difference between discretionary funds within BCC control and mandatory, designated, or pass-through types of funds which BCC cannot reallocate on their whim. I know you did make an effort last year to do a little more of this clarification. In addition to the standardized budget format, provide either a second version or add a spreadsheet column way over on the far right which lists how much of each line item is discretionary. Perhaps some retired accountants could volunteer to help with the extra labor required. Third, publish the whole schedule and daily reminders of public budget meetings, as well as the schedule for televised reruns. My last request is of both commissioners and all citizens, and that is, every time a candidate claims that they will solve the county's financial problems by being more efficient, cutting unnecessary fat, or reallocating funds, insist that the candidate provide you an exact specific list of which budget items will be cut or changed. Same for claims for new revenue. Exactly how much, from where, and what legal basis allows for it. We all need to require all candidates to deal with reality, not fantasy.
Next row, I don't see one there. Then, okay, Mark Seligman and then John the next 2.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mark Sullivan, Selma, Oregon, 21-year resident of this county. Benjamin Franklin had a saying, "Those that forego liberty for security deserve neither." I want to thank all the people that spoke today, both sides of the issue. I am a commissioner candidate, and I'm one of the people that signed Dale Matthews' letter to the governor. When you give up local control, you give up your liberty. You give up your liberty to decide what's going on in your county. I'm against that. Now, on the issue of crime. The Josephine County Budget Committee, of which 3 members are these 3 county commissioners, had the opportunity to safeguard the citizens of this county. At least $500,000 to $1 million could have certainly bought a couple of deputies. These 3 individuals, plus the other 3 on the Budget Committee, said it was not enough of an emergency. So all the people that are in this room tonight and are crying out for police protection, keep in mind, you had an opportunity for road dollars to be used to solve what you say is a problem. And I trust if you really believe that's a problem, it must be a problem. Yet these 3 county commissioners chose not to do it. They wanted to use taxpayer money when taxpayers consistently vote no. That is hypocrisy. This is why I'm telling people, if you're tired of the fiasco running our county, elect new commissioners. Now, I made a contract with the voters to never support a property tax levy or a state tax levy or a fee because it gives up local control. That is vital to us to keep local control. Now, we're dealing cause, symptom. You have crime, okay? That is a symptom. What is the cause of crime? All the police in the world, all the tax levies in the world are not going to stop crime. Grants Pass has 86% of the crime and a full police